Hello, everyone. Wishing you a very good evening. Thank you for being here with us. I hope you're well and safe. As you know, these strange times have brought huge changes in our lives, in the way we live and work. For many of us, the past year has been extremely difficult due to the ongoing pandemic. However, it has been far more challenging for most businesses, including photo finishing and photography. When the lockdown was imposed, many photographers across the country found it difficult to meet the challenges of weddings and events in a pandemic stricken environment. This has led to a significant decline in revenues and annual earnings for both the lab owners and wedding photographers. To address some of these concerns, HP Indigo presents India's very first virtual photo summit, Colors of India 2021, supported by Reddington and Better Photography. This is the very first session in the language edition of this virtual photo summit. The upcoming seminar will take place in three different languages over the course of the next month. On 11th May in Marathi, on the 15th May in Gujarati, and on the 18th May in Hindi at 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Better Photography's Facebook and YouTube pages and website. For today's session, we have two esteemed speakers, Raj Lalwani, portraitist, essayist, wedding and documentary photographer, and Mr. Ashok Pahwa, commercial business manager, HP Indigo Digital Press, India. Both of them will share their insights with you. Towards the end of the session, a moderate set of questions will be presented to the panelists. Our first speaker of the day is Raj Lalwani. So, a little about Raj's background. A majority of his formative years were actually spent at better photography, and his work is genre agnostic, with cinema and the night being his key inspirations. Raj has been the runner up at Silk Documentary Wedding Photography Awards and the Hindu Photojournalism Awards. More recently, he won the Best Photo Essay at the 2019 edition of Better Photography Wedding Photographer of the Year Awards. Later this summer, Raj will host Whole Still, India's first podcast of deep dive conversations with photographers. Hello, Raj, over to you.
Hi, Nilofer, and thank you for that very generous introduction. Uh, Hello, everyone, and it's a very strange time to be talking about photography because I think over the past few weeks, I have grown to feel that very little of what we do matters. The country is in the throes of a crisis like no other. Everyone I know has either directly been affected or is grieving for someone else. We, all of us, even with relative levels of privilege and luck, are a collective of fear, worry, grief, and anger. And in the midst of all of this, photography seems to matter a lot less. I'm not talking about photography that speaks truth to power, the kind of photographs that are currently being made by our brave journalists to show the world what authorities always try to hide. But I'm talking about the kind of photography that I do, where I try to find poetry in everyday situations, or sometimes use abstraction as metaphor, where I look for subtle connections, even signs of love. It it doesn't seem to matter. But yesterday, I got a message from someone whose wedding I had photographed 4 years ago. They're quarantining because the guy has tested positive. He has COVID. It's a mild case, luckily, but he was telling me that the fatigue is insane, nothing like what he's ever felt. His wife and his child, fortunately, have tested negative in the RT-PCR, and so this guy is quarantining in a different room altogether. And he sent me a message out of the blue, asking me how I was, telling me that he's currently positive. And he told me that on every day that his fatigue has been terrible, on every day that has been so difficult because he's so close to his family and yet so far, he looks at a photograph on his wall, which is a framed 12-inch print of him and his wife on their wedding day. It's a print that I had made for the couple. And and that was almost heartening to hear. It kind of reminded me that photography does matter. Whatever happens, what we do matters. Even if we are not truth tellers unearthing scams and documenting atrocities, even if we are not frontline workers saving lives, uh, what we do matters. In a pandemic that has reminded us, all of us, of how fleeting life itself is, the photographer who documents life remembers it, celebrates it, the big moments, the little things, all of it matters. I've been a photographer now for 13 years, and it's been, if I'm not wrong, 11 or 12 years since I shot my first wedding. It's interesting. I shot that first wedding because it was the wedding of a close friend, and I enjoyed the photographs that I made. I enjoyed the photographs that I made. The couple enjoyed the photographs that I made, and I realized that even though over time I'm not going to be only photographing the weddings of my friends or my relatives, that's the idea. That every couple I shoot, even if they've hired me, needs to become a friend, needs to look at me as a friend, and I need to have that connection towards them as a friend. Because photography is a bridge. It's a bridge that allows us to understand and appreciate the world in front of us. You know what's the most beautiful thing about a bridge? It connects two things that might be uh, completely different. It's like a giant sea link that goes from Bandra to Worli. It is that bridge that connects us to people from very, very different walks of lives. And that's an opportunity that we have to treasure. In these socially distant times, uh, it's the one thing that can bring us close. But yeah, in these socially distant times, in this pandemic, and well, while this pandemic is going on, we don't know when it will end. What does it mean to be a photographer? uh, what does it mean to earn a living through photography? This is something that I have been asking myself ever since the first lockdown began. It's now been over 13 months, and more so now, when during the second wave, which uh, we are all struggling to get through. It's not an easy time. It's not an easy time. I think all of us have been filled with, apart from the fear of the virus, but also a kind of fear of the future. What uh, what will our photography business be? How will we do what we do? I think I want to show some of my work to actually reflect some of this. But before I do that, some of the biggest learnings that the pandemic has brought to me, to my work, I want to really mention that. The one big thing is safety and security. And it's something that I always used to scoff at. I used to always think that, hey, you have a camera, you just keep going, you ignore things like sleep, you ignore absolutely everything. But um, nothing really is as important as one's well-being, and that's something that we photographers are most guilty of ignoring. So for all who are shooting weddings now, I hope that you are not. I hope that people are not organizing weddings that have a lot of people, because we all have to be responsible. But for all who have to be on assignment right now, safety comes first. The regular drill. double masks, things like sprays, which it's funny, the few assignments that I have photographed during the pandemic, I usually carry lenses in my pockets. This time I was carrying sanitizers. uh, it was interesting also because usually a photographer is used to managing a certain amount of equipment, right? You have a camera, you have maybe a second backup body, you have three or four lenses, and here all of a sudden you also have those two masks that are around your face. You also have to watch out for how close you are getting to someone. You want to be physically close to get that frame, but you also want to be safe. You also have to uh, you know sanitize your cameras without getting it spoiled, things like that. So that's something which uh, we tend to forget in the quest for that awesome frame. We tend to forget it. The other thing I want to very quickly touch upon is is the fact that at a time when we are all wondering as to how can we take our business forward, which currently for a lot of people has either stagnated or sadly is going down. Uh, I'm going to go back to one small tip. It's something that I've followed, not just this year, but in the past, every time there's been a bit of a lean period. I think as photographers, we tend to value our gear a lot, and rightly so. Uh, but instead of investing in the latest, next, greatest thing, we have to be careful that we invest in ourselves. We invest in our photography, maybe in learning, in improving our skills, rather than investing in the next version of that awesome camera. Because let's face it, all modern day technology is so great, whatever brand and whatever camera you prefer, that that it's good enough. It's good enough to make a fantastic print. I've managed to make fantastic large prints through cameras that are more than 10 years old. And of course, another reason that's possible today is a cameras are great, but also printing technologies have have improved in significant ways. So actually, one of the things that I've seen, a mistake that I've seen a lot of photographers make, and something that I've made as well, is that we end up running our business dry because of the sheer number of cameras and lenses and latest gadgets that we want to get. So we have to maybe think small, uh, but we have to remember that just like a small wedding remains intimate, right? A small wedding is not um, does not lose the love as compared to what a larger wedding pre-pandemic might have been, and which is why keeping our equipment simple, keeping our equipment smaller, keeping our investments a little more conservative does not necessarily change the fact that we can still make photographs of a couple, of a family, that that connect with who they are, that help them treasure that memory for life. The other big change that I think the pandemic needs to that we need to think about because of the pandemic is, what is a wedding going to be like? Now, again, I'm talking about what is a responsible wedding going to be like, because I'm not talking about people who may say that they'll do jugaad and they'll still organize a wedding with a lot of people, because hey, let's not do that. Um, but as photographers, what can we do when we are told that, hey, I need you to photograph a wedding which is in my house and there are like 15 people, or I need you to photograph a wedding which is in a lawn and there are 30 people. And that's something that's Maybe a little more common abroad, but it's very rare for us, right? It's very rare for us photographers in India. You walk out on a tiny lane and there will be 150 people over there. Not right now, but that's usually what our country tends to be. It's this chaos, it's this vibrance. What do we do when we are photographing the important day of two people and with maybe 10 other people with them? Um, a lot changes. The way we think will have to change. Let me get to that, but before that, let me show some photographs which I've made that sort of connect to this. I'm going to share my screen right now and show you this body of work that I'd shot actually 6 years ago. Is not a pandemic wedding, though it kind of feels like one. Guys, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to play this. So this was for me a very special wedding that I had photographed. Not just because the couple share a personal connection with me, but because there were 7 people at this wedding, 7 people including me. And this was obviously the reason it was 7 people was that Zaryab and Remy were kind of running away and having a very private, intimate uh, wedding in Ladakh, which was a place that was very special to them, away from the hustle and bustle of family and extended family and stuff like that. And it was not an easy wedding to photograph, right? Because we are trained as photographers to have 10 eyes around us. We're trained as photographers that we don't just have to photograph the boy and the girl, not just their father and mother and grandfather and grandmother, but we also have to photograph, well, the chacha and the chachi and the kaka and the kaki, but also some extended neighbor and the extended neighbors, extended family. This is not about those crowds. The the whole idea was not coverage, right? Because if I just had to cover every single person who's at this wedding, I would have done that in the first 5 minutes, because it's well, 7 people. um, it's also interesting because the first wedding I'd ever photographed 12 odd years ago was a Malayali wedding. And even that has a similar challenge because well, there are lots of people in a wedding of that sort, but it's literally 10 minutes that the main ceremony gets over in, right? So as a photographer, what can we do to actually connect with the moment and with actually be able to tell that story quickly, sensitively, and coherently? I think one of the main things that I have learned being a photographer all these years is that my photography skills are secondary. They do not matter as much. What really matters is who you are as a person and how much can you get the couple and the family to trust you, to like you, to connect with you. Why am I saying that? It sounds like fancy words, right? Trust and connect. You may get, like, you may connect with certain clients very quickly, though I don't like that word client, but you may connect with certain people very quickly, while certain people, hey, you're doing it as a job because you do not share that same wavelength. They come from a very different background. But why is it important? It's because even if I don't have the best camera on me, even if I don't have the best lens on me, even if my reflexes are not super fast on that particular day, me connecting with them allows me to get into situations that most other photographers do not. if somebody is crying about something that's happened, but it's too private and too intimate a moment that they are having on their own, they wouldn't like uh, a group of 10 photographers to be with them while that's happening. But over the years, it's happened that not just in this wedding, but several other weddings that I've photographed, the people I've photographed trust me to the extent that they tell me all their family secrets. They tell me whose pictures I should be more careful about, whose pictures they don't care about. Um, it's a lot of family gossip, but that ensures that I am in their inner circle, despite the fact that I may have only known them for a couple of months, because 2 months ago they may have gotten in touch with me and told me that, hey Raj, I'm getting married on this and this date. Will you shoot my wedding? And it's literally just those 60 days of a few scattered conversations, and those 3 days of spending time with each other, or 2 days of spending time with each other. But they have developed that trust towards me, that I'm part of the inner circle, and that allows me to get photographs where most photographers aren't even present. So even though I may not be using the most fancy technique or the most fancy lights, it is something which helps me get a moment that they are going to treasure. The other way I have found, and that's going to be even more important in this pandemic now, is that our biggest marketing really is a happy client, is a couple that's super happy after the photographs we have made of them. And um, that's really works in one main way, to photograph the best possible images, to um, to be the nicest person to them during the wedding. It's funny, right? Because sometimes somebody will come to you and tell you you're doing a great job, and I'm like, hey, you've not even seen the pictures, but they see you, they connect with you, they see the way you talk to people, they see the way you deal with people, and that's when they realize, hey, this is someone I can hire in the future. That's when some extended family or some guest at the wedding will want to take your card and will definitely want to call you for their wedding. The other important thing that I do, and I think this has always been very crucial in my practice, is that at the end of a wedding, I will always give the couple a gift of a print, right? And I'll do that at the wedding. It's not my delivery. It's not something I'm promising them. It's not the fact that I'm telling them that, hey, I'm going to deliver you the pictures a week from now or 2 months from now or whatever it is. It's the fact that I will uh, remember that this is one important picture I made of them, maybe earlier in the morning or on the previous day, and I'll get in touch with the lab, and in whichever city I'm in, I'll figure out that situation beforehand, and get that print delivered to the wedding venue, so that by the time the reception's happening or just before the bidai is happening, I'm actually giving them a print from that moment. And this is not like a live edit or anything of that sort. This is not like I'm sending a picture to them that they can share on Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp. This is something they're holding in their hand. This is something they're holding in their hand, and with the family all around. And then the closest friends will go like, hey, what are you looking at? And everyone will start crowding around them. And everyone will not just see that moment that had probably just happened 24 hours ago, but they'll also be able to hold it. And that's something that's so special, that I think the family at the wedding always remembers a photographer when this happens. When they remember you, they hire you. It's something as basic as that. You also build the best friendships and equations and connections and relationships possible. So that's something which I think uh, in this pandemic is even more important, that we may not be able to shoot 30 weddings, because shooting a wedding has a lot more that will go into it now, in terms of maybe getting tested, in terms of maybe uh, you know in terms of sanitizing, things like that. It's going to be far more stressful. We are not going to be shooting big weddings perhaps for a really long time, but if in that small wedding you are building that connection either through who you are as a person or through the photographs you're making or through that one special print that you may give to the couple, uh, that will pretty much help us stay afloat in these very difficult times. I'm going to share a different series of images, which is also a very special wedding that I photographed. Just 1 second. Share screen. Nilofer, can you confirm that this is visible? Is this visible?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. This is the story of Lalita and Ravi, whose wedding I had photographed along with my friend Harkiran Singh Basin. Uh, it's a very special wedding because just the whole circumstances of how we landed up shooting this wedding and who these people were. Uh, Lalita and Ravi, curiously enough, fell in love over a phone call. He he called her by mistake. It was a wrong number, but they started talking and they built that connection. And several months of long conversations later, they decided to get married. Uh, and what you may see on the face of it is also the fact that Lalita is an acid attack survivor, and uh, we were very careful that this set of photographs should be a celebration of who she is, of her courage, and of her love and of his love, rather than just be about the fact that somebody had done such a heinous act towards her in the past. Uh, so it was not an easy wedding to photograph, partially because in your head you are constantly reminded of how terrible the world is. Uh, but then you look at her smile and you look at him smile, and you look at the two families and all her friends who've come together in celebration in this very small, intimate wedding that happened in a government school auditorium. And you remember that a wedding is not about the venue. A wedding is not about uh, a fancy drone shot that you may get. It's not about some crazy lighting technique that you've got. But when the man holds the hand of the woman, or when the mother just looks at her daughter and smiles, or when like this group of friends who are standing on the side have have this broad smile on their faces, that's what a wedding is really about. Everything else is background noise, right? And that's what, again, I think as photographers we tend to forget with the razzmatazz of most fancy Indian weddings. It's not about key, what's the destination or what fancy venue or haveli is it. It's really about who this person is, who that other person is, who are their loved ones, why do they love each other, how do they love each other, and can you try and make a photograph that kind of treasures it. And that's what I was really looking for when Kiran and I made these photographs. This is like a set of 22 photos, of which I think a few are shot by Kiran and a few are shot by me. Nilofer, how much time do I have?
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes? Okay, thank you. So, why was I showing these pictures? I was showing these pictures because I think uh, they are the kind of images that, or they are the kind of assignments that we probably will end, all of us will end up having to do in the future. As weddings scale down with weddings of 25 and 50 people, it's going to be about storytelling. Storytelling is the new photography. It's not going to be about coverage, and it's not going to be about your fancy lighting technique. Look at your own family album and look at the photograph of your grandmother and your grandfather. It doesn't matter what fancy light somebody had used 50 years ago, 60 years ago. It's just about the fact that it's about the connection within their faces, and maybe about the fact that that album is so carefully put together, almost with love, with those prints that may have now yellowed, but the way it's all been put together. So, how do we get to this storytelling? We have to remember that it's not so much about selecting images for an album anymore. It's about what is the beginning, what is the middle, what is the end of the story. Taking a long string of images and sequencing them one after the other to actually tell a story. One very interesting thing that happened to me, and again, this has got to do with the print because I think the print is such an important aspect of photography. Um, it helps us learn. I go around, I print every photograph that I've made that I treasure of all the pictures that I make. If I like a particular picture, I always print it because I think the print, apart from looking good and being this great archival, uh, uh, it's not a device, but it's this great archival medium. It's also a great way to learn because you can see what was happening in the past, and
I think there seems to be some connection issue with Raj. Um, okay. Um, so moving on. Our next speaker of the day is Mr. Ashok Pava, Commercial Business Manager, HP Indigo Digital Press, India, who will speak to you about how you can innovate your business with the help of HP Indigo's creative solution. Mr. Pava, welcome and thank you for being here with us. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Nilofer, and Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, welcome all my photographer friends. I'm speechless. I'm speechless of what I heard from Raj. Uh, I always learned that a picture is more than 1,000 words, and it tells us a beautiful story. And when the story is all about your the best event of your life, for me, sequencing it, shooting it, and presenting it to the couple is the utmost satisfaction a photographer can actually get. Right. And I have no words to add on to what Raj has said, except looking at this difficult condition, what I could say is that whenever we are not working, we are learning. That is what I want to say. So it's a beautiful quote that we have is, when fishermen don't go to the sea, or they can't go to the sea, they actually mend their nets, they actually repair their nets. And I think this is the time for all of us to really go deep dive into what we can do in terms of improving our technical skill, improving our commercial skills, improving our our presentation skill, improving our storytelling skills, or learning the storytelling to the clients, improving our way of the word of mouth publicity, which Raj has just given us a beautiful idea. So I'm going to talk about more onto the subject of how to improve ourselves more than what we should be. Just give me a second. I'm just going to share my screen. Just maybe Nilofer, you can help me. Is it visible to you, Nilofer?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for the confirmation. So coming back to what I was saying, we were on the same page of how do we improve our skills, how do we improve, repair our nets when being a fisherman we can't go to the sea at this point of a time. But before that, I would love to actually take you through many messaging which the word is giving to a photographer. The word is changing, the word is changing, the word is changing, and so does the photo market. And what does that mean to me as a photographer? What does that mean to me at all? And how this word is changing, and when the word is changing, how do I make myself uh, compatible with this change to actually be more uh, meaningful to the society and the work that I am doing. Yeah, this is what I really love to talk about. Now, when somebody says the word is actually changing, of course the word is changing. If you see from dry plate camera to the drones, which is getting done today or used today for capturing the photographs, the word is changing. Now, for a photographer, what does that mean? Does it mean to me that I have to invest into the most advanced gears or update my gears on a on a maybe yearly basis or 2 yearly basis, which means there is an investment which I need to put into my business to be meaningful to what the other people are doing. Similarly, the way the pictures are getting stored, I was talking to one of my photographer friend yesterday, and I learned that any photographer, they are spending roughly around 25,000 rupee to 50,000 rupee every month to actually store their images. Somebody is spending every month, somebody is spending every year. It depending upon the how much data or how much capturing do they have. But one thing which has happened is, the moment in any other industry, if I compare photo industry to any other industry, when somebody improves somebody invest into a new technology or somebody invest into a cash flow, what they look forward is more revenues, more work, more productivity from those investments. But unfortunately, we as a photographer, we don't have a control on to how much work, more work I can get from my new gears, from my new investments. Because unfortunately, the auspicious wedding dates is not controlled by me. This is controlled by somebody else, and what they actually give to me is maybe around 100 days per year. So if I have a old camera or I have a new camera, I have a old storage, I have a new storage, what I can use it for is only the same 100 days, or maybe 30 weddings in a year or 50 weddings in a year, which comes to me. Now, if this is the case, then how do I increase my so-called revenue? How to increase my annual turnover? How do I increase the ROI or the investment that I am making? How do I get the returns onto that? Now, this is what we are going to talk about. Now, I'm comparing photography as to any other FMCG business or a big business, where we have to learn. We have to learn before we actually enter into how do I increase my profit or a turnover. I have to know who is my customer. You know this word KYC. Every time when you go to bank, you go to any financial institute, you go to any other industry, they what they want to know about is your KYC, depending upon which industry that you work for. In photography, did we ever thought of knowing our customer more than what the other industry are doing, or at par than what the other industries are doing? Sometime answer is yes. As Raj has said, the 2 months of a conversation helps him to actually know the customer, or know the client, or know the couple more than anybody else, and it helps him to actually enter into that inner circle, which helps him to actually give him the space of shooting some of the pictures which can never be done by any other any other photographer. So similarly, the KYC is most important for all of us, but many of the photographers do not get this opportunity to speak to many of the clients or the couples much before the wedding. As a general, what I'm going to talk about is, who are these guys who are making the life little more difficult for you, little more challenging for you? And answer lies in something which is called as a millennial, right? It's not a buzzword. I'll explain to you what millennial is all about. Now, millennial is very simple for me and for you as well. Anyone who is taking 54 hours or investing 54 hours a year taking selfies, is a millennial for all of us. Yes, 54 hours a year taking selfies. In totality, what they shoot is roughly around 25,700 selfies in their lifetime. This is for a particular adult who actually shoot 25,700 selfies, guys. Yes, answer is yes. And believe me, we have many of the photographer friends or the audience which is living in this or listening to this webinar. Believe me, somebody actually playing with that camera again and maybe taking a selfie. So we are living in this generation. Now, if we are a part of this generation, right, who is this generation all about? So, to be very precise, anyone who is actually born between 1980 to 2000 is called as a millennial, right? If I put it in the terms of an age, they are, as of 2021, they are roughly around 20 to 34 years of our age, of a people who are called as a millennial. And this is a generation which actually grew up along with the technology. Smartphone is a life for them. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is something which they can't live without. And this is a generation which is coming after the education. They are coming to work now, and they are getting married. And if you look at a population of India data, we have 35 crores out of 139 crores. We have 35 crores of the population today, which is in the bracket of age 20 to 34, which is called as millennial. So what does that mean to me as a photographer? This means to me as a photographer is that the wedding couple that I'm going to shoot tomorrow, or for this assignment or a next assignment, is nothing but a millennial couple. Now, if this is a millennial couple, I should be knowing what do they want. And if I am able to actually deliver what they want, I can actually ask for more fee for my assignment or more value for my services. This is what we can do together. I cannot do more shootings. I'm limited to 50 weddings in a year. Whatever camera that I can use, whatever gears I use, I can't go and increase the number of weddings that I can do. But what I can do is I can increase the value per wedding by actually listening to these guys or understanding these guys and giving them what they want. Right. This is what the millennial story is all about. Now, there are very, very specific uh, attributes or qualities this millennials have. First of all, they are an experience seeker. Yes, they do experience each and every activity that they do, and not only the experience, they actually share their experience with larger audience. And wedding is the most important event in their life which they want to experience the most, right? Second is they want something which is unique. Definitely they want something which is not available to anybody else. I mean, that's a reason of, we see a lot of destination wedding, we see a lot of themes wedding, we see a lot of the companies, the event organizer which are actually entering into the space of wedding and creating that unique experience for these millennial couples. Yes, they are self-oriented. They're impatient, so they want instant gratification. And what that instant gratification means, Raj gave a beautiful example of a photo, a printed photo, maybe a 10 by 12 or 13 by 19 framed photo, which is given to a couple at the day of a reception, which is shot a day before. And with that excitement, they actually share it with with the crowd which is available or which is participating into the wedding. This is an instant gratification. This is where Raj is talking about. And we can also look into these kind of tips and tricks of making them really happy about what we are doing. Next, definitely they are brand disloyal. When I say the brand disloyal, days are gone when they used to actually follow their family photographer. Today, the couple actually go all out. They search for a photographer, they speak to photographer, they see their assignment, and then decide which photographer they want to hire. Which means, the photographers have to show the real experience and the skill to actually win that assignment from that couple. And of course, these are the media savvy people. And last but not the least, this is a generation who is green and responsible, which means they want to pay little more or hire more if you tell them that this is something which is green, this is something which is actually saving the mother earth. Now, I just don't want to confuse you with so many stuff, but definitely look into 3 or 4 elements of what this millennial couple wants and how do we actually service to these couples. Now, first thing which is important for all of these millennials and millennial couple is the experience and the unique offerings or an experience that they want. Now, how do we do it? As I said, they are social media savvy. They know the gadgets, they have a gadgets with them, and they actually shoot sometime more than the a photographer can actually shoot the pictures. These guys actually and girls actually shoot more pictures than any of the professional photographer. So what does that mean to them is that they may not have experienced, or they may not really have experienced the joy of holding a printed photograph in their hand and feeling that experience, touch and feel and emotions which can come out of the printed photograph. This is where this beautiful emotions that we capture can actually give them those kind of different experience altogether. We'll look into how this smart young photographer who actually play with this emotion of an experience and tell this couple how to sell more services to them, or how to actually get more money from them. Let's look at the video please first.
भाभी जी, भाई साहब, हाँ बताइए।
एल्बम वाल्बम छोड़िए ना, हार्ड डिस्क में डाल दीजिए, कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं है।
हार्ड डिस्क में मिल जाएगा, 1 मिनट। ये देखिए।
हर शादी में लाखों कहानियां छुपी होती हैं। उनको ढूंढना ही हमारा काम है। बच्ची की शादी में मां की आंखों में आंसू ना हो, ऐसा हो नहीं सकता। मगर जहां एक तरफ आंसुओं की बरसात, तो दूसरी तरफ दादी जी की खुराफात। अब हम नहीं देखेंगे तो कौन देखेगा? छुप छुप के कहानियां बनाई जाती हैं भाई साहब। छोटू तो पकड़ा गया, मगर ये तो सब कैरेक्टर हैं। असली कहानी तो यहां बनती है। खत्म होने पे इस यादों की किताब में छपती है।
ऐसी ही यादों की किताब बनेगी आपकी भी। कहाँ सोशल मीडिया हार्ड ड्राइव पे ढूंढते पड़ेंगे अपनी कहानी, अपने छोटे छोटे बच्चे को दिखाने के लिए है। तो भाभी जी बनवा दे, बनवा दीजिए भैया। अरे कहते बेटे मिठाई ला दूंगा।
यादों की किताब बाय HP इंडिगो।
Now this Yadon ki kitab, you don't need to create a story for it. Yadon ki kitab itself is a tool of storytelling of the whole wedding to a couple. And believe me, this storytelling art is a real art that any photographers like all of us, and especially you, the professional photographers, can help us to create the best memories in the life. Not only the Yadon ki kitab, in a specific context, but there are different ways this Yadon ki kitab, or the storytelling book, or a wedding album per se. We don't call it as a wedding album, we call it as a Yadon ki kitab only. And there are different sizes of the Yadon ki kitab that can be created. Again, as I said, this couple is a millennial couple. They want to show off what they are spending a large amount of money, in case if they are spending it. So we have different varieties of an album. You have different varieties of an album that you can actually pitch it to them. There is one album which is 30 by 40 size of an album, which is put on a beautiful wooden rack in the one side of a drawing room, and this becomes a status of symbol or a status symbol or a ego satisfaction to the couple's parents, sorry, right, who has invested a large amount of money on a wedding. Then we have a smaller size of an album, the thin album, the regular size of an album, which a couple can actually carry to their second home, which is their workplace, rather than a native. And then we have a beautiful size of a miniature book. These are 20 by 10 by 19 size, or the 20 by 14 size. Now, how does it matter? Is in the today's time is very simple. We have just experienced it in the last wedding, which was shot by one of our photographer friend, where there could only be 50 people who could participate. There were around 25 people from the groom side, 25 people from the bride side, and many of the near relatives could not participate. And what this couple actually did, or a photographer like you helped them, is to do is actually they created some 50 miniature album, the same replica of an album in a smaller size, not as small as a book size, but this 14 by 20 size, or 10 by 18 size. And they sent it to all the relatives who could not participate into the wedding, or who did participate into the wedding. And when they got the reaction from these relatives, this is like living the experience live. Without even participating into the wedding, the whole of the family was a part of this wedding. This is what a value a photographer like you and me can actually add to the couple, which is this millennial couple who definitely want to show off, not only show, but to share their experience also. Now, in this whole generation of today's millennial couple, we do have a buzzword, one more buzzword again, which is called as an unboxing experience, right? Whenever they buy something expensive, whenever they buy something new, some new technology, they want to open up in front of making a video out of it, and then they share it with the rest of the world. They call it as an unboxing. And believe me, you can help these guys to actually unbox their best moment of their life, which is wedding, by giving them some beautiful gift like this, right? This is the best unboxing experience that we can actually give to a millennial couple, right? There cannot be a best gift than this. Believe me, as a photographer, if I show it to any of the couple today, they will go bonkers. They will give due respect to all of us. And not only the respect, they will actually give us more value for our services as well. So this is where we want to contribute towards the photographer community. How do we gain more? The message is, let's create a sales kit. Let's create, we call it as a sales kit, but put it as an experience kit. You print the best of your photographs in different sizes, right, from a pocket album to a large size album to something which is the unboxing experiences kit, and carry it along with you, or call your the millennial couple to your studio and show it to them. Let them experience it. Once they experience it, believe me, one, they will see you outside the crowd of the rest of the photographers they are seeing. Second is, they will give you the value, more value, or a premium to actually the services that you are entering to. Now, this is one subject, which is how do we add more value to our services. Second, of course, when we're talking about the millennial couple, they know technology. They have a camera, the latest smartphone with them, which can actually shoot some of the beautiful images. They know megapixel, they know some of the quality. So what next? If they know the quality, how does we as a photographer can add value to our conversation? It's very simple. As Raj was telling, that sometime the experience is more important than the gadgets that we use. You you invest into HD camera, you don't invest into HD camera. What you can do is, with the same camera that you are actually using today, we can increase the quality of the print that is offered to you by many of our new age technologies. Now, this new age technology is what we call as a high definition print, HD imaging. And with this new HD imaging, what we can do is we can print, with your same old camera, we can print beautiful images at 1600 DPI, more than 800, more than what, or double more than what we were actually doing earlier. And will give you high the skin tone which is smooth, the tints which is flat, and the details which you actually want if you're done an outdoor shoot with. Again, the the message that we want to give it to you is, sometime you may not want to invest into camera, but please take help of the color lab, which has invested into this beautiful piece of technology with 1600 dpi to print your photographs at much higher resolution than what it used to be today. And then please your couple, or impress your couple with the beautiful pictures that you are sharing with them. Now in quality, detail is one of the aspect, or the resolution is one of the aspect. The second aspect that we have is of course the colors. Thanks to this millennial couple, thanks to the innovative ideas of today's generation or millennial photographers, we want to make millennial couple feel like a Bollywood star in their own wedding. So whether it's an arranged wedding or a love wedding, what we always portray is we want to create a good story. Now this good story starts from pre-wedding shoot to a wedding shoot to a post-wedding shoot, and a series of sequences actually captured, whether it is outdoor, it is along the seashore, it is in some beautiful areas with a lot of greenery around it. So what we end up doing is we end up actually capturing a lot of colors, outdoor, indoor, and of course many of the colors that this millennial couple is actually forced to you also in the form of their attire. They have invested a lot of money into their attire. Sometime because the fashion is of the vivid color, they actually wear the vivid color, and you end up capturing a wedding which is of the vivid color. So what does that mean to you as a photographer, right? Me or you as a photographer, what we should do is to actually print the photo with the color that photo carries. Right, what does that mean to you and me is that if there are natural green colors in your photo, if there are a lot of pinks in your photo, if there are a lot of reds and blues in your photo, don't give it to a simple full color printer or a color lab. Give it to somebody who has and capacity or capability to print with the new vivid colors, which is vivid pink and vivid green, so that the colors that you have captured comes out beautifully well. And you can go back to your, again, the whole idea is to impress the millennial couple and ask for a more services fee or ask for a more money. Right. So we have introduced the vivid pink and vivid green to actually take care of the outdoor as well as the new colors, vivid colors for the pink and the greens and the reds and the blue. And sometimes we do capture some of the art images, we do capture black and white images. So don't print it just with a full color again or with a pink and green. Please print it either with black or a light black. Right, these are the two colors. When you actually use these two colors, what you get is a perfect reproduction from 0 to 100%. You don't see the pinholes, you don't see the shadows being filled up. Right, and even if you are printing a four color image also, you will see a stabilization of the gray area. So again, the picture, the color that your picture carries, please print it with those colors. If you're printing, you're shooting a lot of portraits and you want to see it very close, you want to print a lot of the high size of 20 by 30, 30 by 40 size of the picture, please use light cyan and light magenta. So the message here again is that the color that your photo captures, please go and take help of the color lab which has NHP Indigo with them, and print all those beautiful photographs with the right color that it carries. And once we do that, again, the message that we have is, once we do that, we can go back to my own millennial couple and give them the experience of the real color which is captured, which is printed on the photo. Now quality is taken care, the colors is taken care. The last thing, or the most important thing that somebody, this millennial couple doesn't want to show off is something which is not persistent or consistent with their, they're very image conscious. They want to show off everything which is the best. They don't want to show something which can be a spot into their image. And once we go along our age, the attitude never changes. This millennial couple who is 20 years today, after 50 years or after 30 years, when they become 50, 60, when they're sharing their wedding book with their kids, with their grandkids, they don't want their wedding albums look like this. This is where we as a photographer can add value to our discussion, to these millennial couple. What we can promise them, yes, what we can promise them is 200 years of the life of the album, without weathering, without feathering, without any decolorization, without any spoiling of their photo, which is printed at the best time of their life, which is their wedding. Yes. Now, when we have this discussion with this millennial couple, believe me, this will add a lot of value to you in your discussion. 200 years is nobody has imagined, none of the millennial couple has imagined that their wedding album can actually stay for 200 years. But yes, when you say it to them, they again, it increases the confidence in you, it increases the imagination of how they want to share this album with the future generation, even though they are not there. And again, what you're doing is adding a lot of values to your discussion, and in return definitely asking them, some more fee. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we increase our revenue, not only to the life of the print. Sometime we want a weatherproof print, right? And before I enter into this story, I would love to you to actually see this video, and then we'll narrate this story to you.
In our top story, we read in Chennai has literally drowned out few days, has caused flooding in many. Water has entered hundreds of households.
Get waterproof prints on HP Indigo. Preserve your most precious memories for life.
So I'm not going to narrate this story to you. I'm happy to actually share this video with you. In turn, you sharing this video with your with your millennial couple, right? This video speaks itself. I don't need to really tell them what offering that I'm giving it to them in terms of this waterproof album. Now, last thing that I want to be very cautious and conscious in terms of my pitch to this millennial couple. As I said, the fourth and most important element for them is that they are sustainable. They want everything which is go green. They are very, very sensitive to Mother Earth, and believe me, this is what we are offering them today. We never spoken to them till date that the HP Indigo album that you as a photographer are giving it to them is the most green technology that they are using to print their wedding albums. Gone are the days when comparing it with the silver halide. If you print the same album with the silver halide, what you are actually doing is you are actually digging x number of feet of an earth to actually get the silver, convert into silver halide, print it on a photo paper and share it with the and there are a lot of chemicals which is used. We don't use it at all. We don't use it at all. This is the most green technology for a photo printing today, and believe me, please share it with your millennial couple. The moment you share it that you are using a technology which is helping Mother Earth, right, which is completely green, they will they will give much more premium than you actually think you can actually get it from them. So in the last, the summary or the message that we want to give it to you is that we have a lot of tools from an HP side which is available with you. What we need to do is to actually use these tools first as a experience kit or a sales kit, or the discussions that we are doing with our millennial couple and highlighting these points to them. And once we do that, definitely we will get the right attention, we will get the right recognition, we will get the right fee for the services that we are rendering to this millennial couple. With this, I thank you, all of you, for this patience listening, and looking forward to question answers after the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pawa, for your thoughtful words and presentation. But before we move ahead to the Q&A session, I would like to call Raj Lalwani to conclude his presentation.
Hey Ashok, thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Nilofer. I'm so sorry. I seem to have lost my internet connection at that moment. But I was watching what Ashok presented with great fascination because that ad which said that we'll put all the pictures on the hard drive. We don't want an album and stuff like that. That is so common. I almost every couple I photograph tends to not want an album because I think we are a generation that is very digital. But again, when I give that one print, that's when they go like, "Hey, this is what a print feels like." And I usually don't oversell something at the beginning. I'm like, "Hey, are you sure you just want digital photos?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're sure." So then I don't push it. But then when I just give them that one print, usually they end up asking me to print 5 more and 10 more because they really want to do up their house with that. And one incident that I wanted to talk about, which again reminds me of a couple like this, is that again, the beginning of the lockdown, I got a message from somebody whose wedding I had photographed, and it was their anniversary coming up. And they were like, this is anniversary, thank you for the pictures. And our just conversations just happened. And eventually, what happened is that I got very small prints made, and small as in literally the size of my palm. And I managed to, it was lockdown, but I managed to get in touch with the lab, and they were like, "Hey, we are functioning on this particular day for 2 hours. Send the pictures quickly." Through a lot of jugaad, we managed it. And what the girl did is that she pasted those prints onto a moleskin diary, a very small pocket diary. And beside each photo, and there were like just 15, 20 photos, beside each photo, she wrote a caption, which was more like a letter from her to her husband. And that's what I meant by, remembering that it's about storytelling. It's about sometimes text, which might just, even though we might not be writers, that text can come as a message from a family member, from the boy to the girl, or the girl to the boy. And this was one of my first lockdown photography excursions, so to say.
So let's get to Q&A. So the first question is to Raj. What's the difference between documentary photography and storytelling when it comes to wedding photography?
Oh, that's a very loaded question. See, I think as wedding photographers, all of us are documenting history. The wedding is the most important day of the couple, but it's also a very important event within our society, within our culture. And um, and so the way we photograph it, we have to be very careful about that. There are so many trends that happen, right? uh, there's a twirl shortcut trend, or sometimes there's a trend of some strange colors and stuff like that. And all these trends look cool, they're a lot of fun to do sometimes, but remember that 30 years later somebody's going to look at that photo um, and treasure it. So 30 years later, will your trend still be alive? Maybe not. So try to be as honest to the couple as possible in documenting their story. The other aspect of storytelling happens really after you're done shooting. We all shoot a lot of images, but we have to be very careful about which pictures we eventually give to the couple as digital files and which pictures we print. So sometimes you may have shot 500 GB, crazy amount of pictures. You may eventually bring it down to uh, 200 photos a day. That's still 400 photos for a 2-day wedding. But just pick out maybe 20 from those 400, and you will see the story of the wedding. Without obviously a lot of the other photos, but you will see in those 20, you will see the story of the wedding. And that, I think, for me is a very important part of storytelling. What we do with the pictures after the wedding is over. That's super crucial.
So the next question is, how do you prepare for a wedding assignment?
How do I prepare to get good sleep? If it's a morning thing, I'm always scared that I should wake up in time. So get good sleep. That in my early 20s, I would not sleep out of excitement. Now I know that I probably need that sleep. The other aspect is to just talk to the couple a lot. That's it. Talk to them as if they are a friend of yours. And yes, it's sometimes difficult, but there are always common factors between you and that other person. The common factor may be that you're from the same school. Maybe they are studying in the US and you also want to go to study to the US. Maybe you like the same cricketer. It could just be as basic as that. But find some common factor so that your conversations aren't just about ki tum kitna paisa loge and kabhi photos doge and stuff like that. That will ensure that the first time you meet them will probably be at the wedding. I mean, ideally you want to meet them physically beforehand, but suppose they are in a different city and stuff like that. The first time you're going to meet them is going to be on the wedding day or one day before, and and that level of comfort is already there. So for me, the preparation is to establish that level of comfort and to see that I'm well, not too exhausted while shooting the wedding because it is intense.
For the next question is for Mr. Pawa. Do I need a calibrated monitor to see indigo print colors accurately before printing, or how does one see or work with a bigger color gamut?
Yeah. Uh, See, the answer is if you can afford, answer is yes. You should have a calibrated monitor, but this monitor is calibrated not to one of the standard that you are using, but to the standard that the color lab is going to print your pictures. Right. So we have something which is called as the calibrating of a monitor by standard devices, where your monitor can be calibrated with the monitor of the color lab, which is using their monitors to actually to print by our machines, which is again using some ICC profile. So the answer is yes, we can do it, and if we do it, the results is what you see on your monitor will actually come out from our printing press or a photo press on a paper like so, exactly so.
Thank you so much. So the last question is to Raj. There is Swapnil who's asking, how do you overcome creative block?
The only way is to keep doing it, is to land up and work. Quite often you will feel that you're not into it. Uh, you might be going through a bad day. Maybe it's just you're facing some other troubles. But you have to be at it. And over time, you are training your reflexes to react. Because you've been shooting for a certain number of years, you are training your reflexes. It's like if Rohit Sharma is having a bad day, uh, but he still lands up and bats, his cover drive will be at least 90% of what it should be, right? So spend those hours, spend those years in training your reflexes, and then when there's a creative block, just going at it over and over again will help. The other thing that I would really say is that one mistake that we often make is that we end up remaining within bubbles. Now, bubbles is a new word during the pandemic. It's a good thing. Sometimes bio bubbles burst. But I'm saying in a creative bubble, we end up people who want to become wedding photographers or working as wedding photographers only end up shooting weddings, only end up looking at wedding photos. People who are working in fashion only end up looking at fashion photos. I think that's a mistake. I think there's a lot to learn from every kind of photography. Uh, and the way you shoot your fashion assignment will end up influencing the way you shoot that lehenga when there's a wedding photograph. The way you shoot uh, your wedding and the way that trains your reflexes will help you when you're shooting maybe a journalistic assignment. So we need to get out of our bubbles, and even more so now, because of the pandemic, um, it might not be safe for some people, especially if you're living with older folks, to shoot a wedding for a while, right? You don't want to be at least around crowds. You want to only shoot smaller weddings, and so then maybe the number of assignments you're getting is lesser. How do you solve that? I think training your skills in a way that you can do other genres of photography, maybe do them, that'll help your business. Uh, and that'll also help in the long run, even post pandemic. It helps because every wedding photographer goes through 6 months of off season, and in that, the skills that you have acquired of either photographing faces, so maybe working with actors, or photographing food, so maybe working with restaurants, will really come in help, and that will eventually uh, help you get out of your creative block, because just going into a different space, a different kind of photography, is always a big help.
There is one more question that has come in
Mhm.
from Amar. He's asking, in vermilion ceremony, many photographers use black and white. Would you like this as when you're like shooting it for something which is like so auspicious? Is this something that they should be doing?
I think it's completely okay because the pictures of our grandparents are black and white, right? Our old family albums are black and white. But what I try to do is I also try to, these early conversations are so important with with the couple. So I try to get an idea of their aesthetic sensibility. Like I ask them, what is your favorite movie? If they tell me that their favorite movie is Rohit Shetty, I know that their sensibility is something. If they tell me it's Sanjay Leela Bansali, I get that their sensibility is something else. Or if they tell me Satyajit Ray, I know that their sensibility is something else altogether. So I'm always trying to get an idea and like, hey, do you like color? Do you like black and white? If they're iffy about it, I'll probably give them both options. So I'm a great fan of black and white photography. I end up using it a lot while shooting weddings. Uh, but yes, because we're shooting raw files, the color option is also there. So as a service provider, having the color as a backup is great. But as a storyteller, if you feel that a certain wedding is best told through black and white, like I shot the Ladakh wedding in black and white because I thought the colors were so beautiful that it was distracting. I wanted to bring it down to the couple. You may feel in a vermilion ceremony or in any other ceremony in a wedding that the expressions are so lovely that you want to make it black and white. So that's completely okay.
We have one more question from Mr. Pawa. So a lot of younger generation is moving away from bigger weddings into smaller intimate functions, from louder colors to subtler shades such as peach and baby pink. Is this a shift in the way the colors are perceived in the country?
Uh, Maybe I feel Raj can answer this question better than me. Right. I'll tell you my perspective here is Nilofer is, uh, most of the time when it is all about the wedding, right, or a wedding photography, this is dominated by the fashion trends which is happening in the industry today. Right. For last 5 years, you see a lot of bold colors are into fashion, right? And in last 6 to 8 months, we see a lot of pastels are coming into, the apparels. So what we always feel is whatever is the new fashion trends which is dominating into India as a market is what it finally comes to the wedding. And every year there is a new palette of colors which is launched in an apparel industry, especially in a luxury apparel industry, which actually talks about the color of the year, or the color of year 2021, 2022. which decides 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, the masses are going to actually use those kind of the bold or a pastel shades. When it comes to printing, definitely we being the pioneer in terms of printing the best of the photographs, we have a 7 color technology with us. So we have a 4 color, which is our CMYK. Then beyond 4 colors, we have 3 more color station, which can actually increase the color gamut to print most of the colors that is available in the industry today. Sometimes we call it as a Pantone shade, sometimes we call it as a pastel shade, sometimes we can with the help of our special inks, photo inks, as well as the out of industry photo inks, we have many colors which can increase the color gamut outside CMYK. So answer, to print those colors, we can definitely help you to print those colors once we rightly get what kind of a colors that you want to print. I hope does that answer that question, or maybe Raj, you can help me to answer this.
No, I think Ashok, what you said is lovely, and Nilofer, the thing is that whatever you say about India, the complete opposite is always true as well. Right? We are too diverse a country, so yes, trends are shifting, but you will still meet a lot of people whose aesthetic will be maybe ahead of its times, or of maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and that's completely cool. And the thing with it's fashion, it's Bollywood, and it's social media and things that go viral. And each one ends up influencing the other. Bollywood ends up influencing fashion, fashion ends up influencing things that go viral, and all these things sort of are so connected, and they are often looked at by brides, grooms, wedding planners to really set the tone, the palette of what they want to do.
Thank you so much, Raj and Mr. Pava. With this last segment, we conclude the first talk of the virtual photo summit, Colors of India 2021. I would like to thank our speaker, Raj and Mr. Pava, for sharing their wonderful presentation and insight. I would also like to thank our partners, HP Indigo, Reddington, and Better Photography. However, the seminars have just begun. The virtual photo summit will continue in 3 different languages over the next few days. On 11th May in Marathi, on 15th May in Gujarati, and on the 18th May in Hindi at 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Better Photography's Facebook and YouTube pages. In addition to this, please also let me conclude the session with the announcement of a photography contest, HP Indigo's Colors of India contest. It has 5 unique themes, each representing an aspect of the country and a type: wedding photography, travel photography, baby shower, lockdown diaries, and birthdays. The contest is open to all residing in India, with no entry fee and with some fabulous prizes to be won. To submit your images, please visit the link displayed on the screen. This brings us to the end of the session. Thank you for watching. Please stay safe, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe. Double mask up. And if you can, please get vaccinated. Thank you, everyone.